Are you even awake? On the limits of human perception and the modeling of reality. Abstract. This paper explores the epistemological question of whether human beings can never be certain that they are awake, and more broadly how the limitations of human perception shape our understanding of reality. Building on the skeptical traditions of Plato and Descartes, as well as contemporary cognitive neuroscience, the argument unfolds through an analysis of perception as predictive modeling, the problem of causal inference, and the construction of experience by the brain's internal algorithm. Plato's allegory of the cave, the phenomenon of dreaming, and modern predictive coding theories converge on the same insight. What we take to be reality is mediated, filtered, and fundamentally assumption-driven. The paper develops the AIA hypothesis, Are You Even Awake?, which proposes that regularly interrogating the validity of our perceptions functions as cognitive tool for epistemic humility. The conclusion stresses that certainty about reality is unattainable, but the conscious practice of questioning can expand our conceptual horizon. 1. Introduction. The deceptively simple question, am I awake, raises profound epistemological concerns. On the surface, the answer appears obvious. Our sensory experience convinces us of our wakefulness. Yet, a follow-up question immediately arises. How do we know? This line of inquiry situates itself within a long tradition of skepticism. Plato's allegory of the cave suggested that human perception may be shadows of a deeper reality. Descartes, centuries later, doubted whether he could trust even the most vivid perceptions, imagining a deceiving demon manipulating his senses. Contemporary cognitive science extends this skepticism, demonstrating that perception is not passive reception, but active construction. This paper examines the limits of human perception by analyzing how the brain models external reality. It argues that experience is a simulation produced by complex neural algorithms constrained by sensory bandwidth and guided by past assumptions. Through illustrative examples such as rain and dark clouds, as well as case studies of dreaming, the paper shows that certainty in causal inference and reality itself is elusive. The AIA hypothesis is introduced as a framework for systematically questioning reality as a means of epistemic vigilance. 2. The algorithmic brain. Modern neuroscience conceptualizes perception as a process of predictive modeling. The brain does not passively register stimuli, but instead anticipates them, interpolating from prior experiences. Every moment of perception is filtered through expectation. When perception aligns with prediction, the world feels stable. When it diverges, anomalies appear, reminding us that what we perceive is a construct. The bandwidth of human sensory systems is finite. Research estimates that roughly 1.5 megabytes of raw sensory data enter the nervous system each second, yet only a fraction is consciously processed. Selection, filtering, and distortion occur at every stage, from photoreceptor cells in the eye to cortical integration. The process resembles a virtual reality engine running within the brain, a virtual machine that simulates coherence on the basis of limited noisy inputs. Third, causal inference and the problem of assumptions. Causal reasoning is the bedrock of knowledge, but it is fraught with uncertainty. Consider the relation between dark clouds and rain. Experience suggests a connection, yet darker clouds do not always produce rain. Sometimes they yield lightning, storms, or no precipitation at all. Each causal inference rests on assumptions derived from statistical regularities in prior experience. Yet, no matter how high the probability, it never reaches absolute certainty. Philosophers and scientists have long acknowledged the principle of underdetermination. Multiple theories may explain the same set of observations. This implies that causal inference is provisional, contingent on available evidence, and subject to falsification. The limits of inference underscores the fragility of human claim to knowledge. 4. The allegory of the cave revisited. Plato's allegory of the cave in The Republic illustrates the problem of distorted perception. Prisoners chained to face a wall mistake shadows for reality, lacking the perspective to see the fire and objects casting them. Modern neuroscience corroborates this by showing that sensory processing constructs internal representations that differ from external stimuli. By reinterpreting Plato in light of contemporary science, the cave becomes an allegory for the predictive brain. The shadows represent the perceptual constructs produced by neural algorithms. The fire represents sensory input. Just as prisoners require philosophy to grasp reality beyond shadows, humans require critical reflection to recognize the limitations of perception. 5. Dreams as natural experiment. Dreams provide a striking demonstration of the constructed nature of experience. In dreams, individuals typically accept their environment as real, despite its implausibility. Only upon waking is the dream recognized as simulation. Lucid dreaming offers a partial exception, where the dreamer becomes aware of the artificiality of the experience. This duality, being convinced of reality within the dream, yet recognizing its falsity from without, parallels the epistemic problem of wakefulness itself. If the brain can generate fully convincing realities internally, how can we be certain that waking life is not similarly constructed? Dreams serve as a natural experiment in epistemology, dramatizing the fragility of certainty. 6. The AIA hypothesis. The AIA hypothesis, Are You Even Awake?, proposes that the conscious practice of questioning reality functions as a tool of epistemic humility. By treating wakefulness as an assumption to be interrogated rather than a certainty, individuals cultivate cognitive resilience. This practice resembles thought triggers in lucid dreaming, where habitual questions increase the likelihood of recognizing the dreams. Neurologically, the AIA hypothesis can be metaphorically described as building roads in the brain. Over time, this self-reinforcing process embeds skepticism into cognition itself, ensuring that perception is never taken for granted. 7. Implications. The AIA hypothesis carries implications across philosophy, neuroscience, and the ethics of knowledge. Epistemologically, it underscores the impossibility of certainty and the provisional nature of all claim. In neuroscience, it aligns with predictive coding models, which emphasize the role of error correction and expectation in perception. In the philosophy of mind, it highlights the distinction between representation and reality, raising questions about consciousness and self-awareness. 8. Conclusion. Human perception is fundamentally algorithmic, assumption-driven, and fallible. Every experience is mediated through neural processes that interpolate, distort, and reconstruct reality. Certainty about wakefulness, causality, or reality itself is unattainable. The AIA hypothesis offers a practical strategy to live with epistemic humility by continually asking, Am I awake? In doing so, we acknowledge the limitations of perception while expanding the horizon of inquiry. The question may never be answered definitely, but the act of asking remains philosophically indispensable. Acknowledgement. This paper was prepared with partial assistance from AI-based tools. I drafted the initial idea after finishing my A-levels in German around 2016 to 2018. I then wrote a blog article about 2 times the length of this paper, and yesterday asked myself the question, if I ever want to publish a paper, maybe better than I ever could, why not use ChatGPT 5 to do exactly that? So I took my blog article and said to ChatGPT 5, write a paper out of it. A couple of iterations, and about 2 hours later, it drafted this. References: Plato, Republic, Book 7, Allegory of the King. Descartes, R. Meditations on First Philosophy, Cambridge University Press. Friston, K. The Free Energy Principle, a Unified Brain Theory. Nature, Reviews, Neuroscience. 127 to 138. Clark, A. Whatever Next. Predictive Brains, Situated Agents, and the Future of Cognitive Science. Behavioral and Brain Science. Chalmers, D. The Conscious Mind in Search of the Fundamental Theory. Oxford University Press.